Coming up on Future Now.
Change projects have a lot of different angles, right? You have a technology angle, but you also have a very, very important human angle.
This is Future Now, a podcast series where we take you on a journey and unravel the emerging trends shaping our world today. Discover the answers to what's next. What are the advances that truly matter? What are the key innovations? And how can they empower every person and organization in the future? Presented by Gulf News in association with Microsoft and hosted by Ihsan Anabtawi, COO and CMO of Microsoft UAE.
Welcome to Future Now. My guest today is Miguel Villalonga. In his role, Miguel oversees strategy, business development, sales, technology, and operations, and he has been instrumental in the market expansion of the company, specifically on the cloud and digital front, through partnerships with global hyperscale providers such as Microsoft. Miguel, thank you so much for joining me today, and welcome to Future Now.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Maybe we'll start the conversation by just having you give us just a quick overview of, first of all, what you do yourself and maybe your role at EAND.
Well, thank you, Ihsan. It's been already 6 years since I joined Etisalat, and it's been an amazing ride because the cloud in this country, as you know, has evolved in very recent years. And definitely the partnership that we have established with Microsoft has been one of the key highlights in this journey. So when I started as Vice President of Cloud and Data Center, the data center landscape in this country was very limited. The capacity there was relatively small. There was nothing called cloud hyperscalers in the whole region. So we started a very interesting journey of growth in convincing customers about all the advantages of cloud adoption and in building infrastructure.
Fantastic. And when I think of Etisalat, right, I mean, it's just has a long history. I mean, the brand, I think, is synonymous with the country. I think everybody who lives here knows of Etisalat, whether it's you're a consumer or you're a business, right? So incredible brand, significant success, and I think very few people expected this change in name, right? In terms of brand, which is a really modernized name, EAND. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Like, what does that signify?
It is a significant change, and it is a reflection in the change of times in general for the telecoms market, but also in the behavior of our customers and the importance of the digital world and technology in every segment, every industry that we touch. So it is, in a way, a statement of a company that is no longer a telco, but now is geared to be a technology group. So we are calling it from a telco to a techco. And the structure, as it was made public, we continue having a very strong footprint in telecoms. Our Etisalat UAE is still the leading telecom brand in the UAE. We have a very strong portfolio of telco in the region. Operations in Saudi Arabia with Mobily, PTCL and Ufone in Pakistan, Etisalat Misr in Egypt, Maroc Telecom, etc. But we have opened 3 companies in the first line, which are not dedicated only to telco. The first is EAND Live, which is a company to provide digital solutions for consumers, again, not necessarily in the telco space. The second one is a similar company doing digital transformation for businesses. It's called EAND Enterprise, is the organization that I represent. So basically, EAND Enterprise is the partner for customers in their digital transformation journey when customers are government enterprises and small and medium businesses. And then the fourth company is called EAND Capital. So EAND Capital is a fund, is a venture capital fund where we invest in companies related to technology with a dedicated team that will be running a predefined, well-managed portfolio. So it is, as you see, it's a very different scope to the only telecom space that we were operating earlier. It's telecoms plus, so that's why the name is Etisalat Etisalat and everything else that we want to do.
Fantastic. I mean, and it's really a major change. I mean, and I like the 3 parts that you described. I think you're known for, of course, your track record and history on the telco side, but I think that diversification and focus into whether it's investing in new areas or whether it's enterprise and digital. I think it makes perfect sense. And I love also the work that you're doing on building the right skills internally, the right capability. And also, from our side, the partnership that we have, as you mentioned, which maybe I'll touch on a little bit. And I know this was probably the first global partnership that you announced when the rebranding happened. It included multiple things. Maybe I'll let you talk about this, but I think it had things around infrastructure modernization, engineering, even things like 5G, go-to-market elements. How significant was that in the vision for the company in terms of aligning with a technology player?
Well, it has been very, very important, and I think it has been relevant. I mean, Microsoft is a global leader. We admire Microsoft for not only for the technology company that it is, but also for the ability to transform and everything that you guys have done in the recent years. I think it has been really a remarkable story. And if you see how the relationship has evolved, it's also based on, has really laid very solid foundations for this partnership that we recently signed. So again, looking back 5-6 years ago, we started working together, and there was a play of enabling the public cloud, the hyperscaler public cloud in the UAE. At that time, it was all about building infrastructure, enabling Microsoft data centers to be deployed in the UAE, and also, very importantly, creating a regulatory framework that would allow Microsoft Cloud to be in the UAE. So there are a number of regulatory environments, laws that were still under development. So we had to really work with Microsoft, but also with the UAE government to make sure that all the foundation that was required was already in place. So that was the first stone. Once we had that, remember 2019, the cloud was open in the UAE. And then our role continued to be an infrastructure provider, but also we started doing enablement for our customers. We became a partner of Microsoft in going to the market and enabling customers, providing services. We actually became the partner of the year of Microsoft last year, which is a great achievement, which is another significant change for us and another significant element of pride. And then we also started using Microsoft to transform our own solutions portfolio, our own services portfolio. And this is where our own network engineering team, our own IT, has started using Microsoft technologies heavily. So all these 3-4 elements have really created a foundation that now we have, let's say, culminated in the strategic alliance that we have announced recently, where our group CEO, Hatem Dawidar, visited Satya in Redmond, and we had the signature. So it's very important because for us it's not only what has been achieved, but also what is yet to come. The future that lies ahead definitely is in the direction that I was mentioning earlier we want to take. We are a technology group and we want to continue working with partners like Microsoft to achieve our objectives.
Fantastic. And I couldn't agree more. And I think the spirit, a big part of that partnership is the joint desire of both organizations to really be part of the country's own digital transformation and economic growth. We all know that the country has an ambitious economic transformation and economic growth agenda, with technology being an explicit, announced big part of that, right? Many steps have been taken on AI, on skilling, on leveraging advanced technology. How would you describe the role that Etisalat plays or wants to play in the transformation of the country at large, right, at the national scale?
Well, that's a good question. I think there are a few companies that really define the economic ambitions of a country like the UAE, which I think is unique in the world. No, the speed of growth, how bold the vision of the leadership of the country is, and the kind of results that the leading companies are achieving in this space. And in Etisalat or in Ihsan, we are very proud of being one of those companies. I think in that sense, the role that we play is that we are the face of technology in the country and in the region, representing the UAE. The same way that we have other companies like Emirates Airlines that represents, the worldwide travel coming from the UAE, or we have ADNOC or Jumeirah Group. I mean, very large flagship company. So we are very proud of being the flagship company in technology. But I think that the real contribution has been that we have been an infrastructure builder. Our strength comes from our continued infrastructure construction vision and ambition. So we have built something very unique. I mean, we are the country with the highest fiber to home penetration. We cover every single corner of the country with fiber and with mobile coverage. The mobile network is unique, fastest network in the globe. We are one of the first countries in deploying 5G technologies. Our data center network is unique, and we have multiplied since 5-6 years ago times 10 the capacity in this country. So really, our ability to build very, very large scale state-of-the-art infrastructure has been really unique. And then the other element is that around this infrastructure, we don't leave it as a passive element. We create layers that look at adding value for our customers. And this is, for example, the creation of Etisalat Digital that now has become Ihsan Enterprise. Basically, we provide solutions using our infrastructure to help our customers transform in their digital transformation journey around cloud technologies, around IoT, around security, artificial intelligence. So there's real value that can be extracted from technology for our customers. And I think that the last element, which is very, very important, is our ambition, our ability to develop talent, to train people, bring people to the country, and create a talent pool that is very, very relevant for the industry.
Fantastic. And which brings me to my next question on when you think of your own transformation as an organization, and I'm sure it's ongoing, right? I mean, I know this is not done and it's a journey. We both work with large organizations in the country. Many of them are going on their own transformation journey, leveraging technology. We often talk about this notion that every business is becoming a digital business. So I'm curious to understand, any learnings for you in that journey? I know it's still ongoing. What would be some of your learnings, even some of the challenges that you think you went through? Because you transformed from within. It's not like, you went, I know, of course, you hired a lot of people, you skilled people from within, but the transformation largely came from within. I'd love to hear some of your learnings or thoughts on that, and any messages to organizations that are also thinking of their own transformation.
Well, it's a very good question, and sometimes it's a bit difficult to answer because change projects are always have a lot of different angles, right? You have a technology angle, but you also have a very, very important human angle, right? So there's a full practice of change management, and change management, if you dig a bit into it, is all about human resources and the way you communicate, the way that you train, the way that you expand the abilities of the team by recruiting or by developing your own people, but also the way that you communicate, the way that you create expectations in the team. And I think that sometimes we spend too much time or too much energy in the transformation from a technology point of view, from an organization point of view, from a legal point of view, but sometimes we miss the communication element, which I think is absolutely critical. It's important how we communicate to the rest of the world, but also to the internal teams, so that people really understand what's in it for me as an individual, as a part of this organization. I've been doing the same thing for my past 10 years, how the world is changing for me, not only for the organization. So I think that element of change management and human resources is something that I believe is absolutely key. And then obviously, companies and entities have to become agile, have to let go of old practices, have to have ability to adapt and change and become more flexible. And that is a cultural change as well. So we go back to, going back to the same HR element. I mean, there's a very important element of a culture that has to be adjusted in these changes. So I think technology is fundamental, is a must. But at the end of the day, people is the element that's going to make it or break it.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't agree more. And I think we went on that journey ourselves as an organization. I think, we talk about how do people shift from a mindset of, knowing and really magnify their learner mindset, their curiosity. How do we think of, both reskilling, but also upskilling, which I think is in alignment with what you mentioned. One more question from my side is when you think of cloud services and the country's dependency today on cloud services, regardless of course, the nature of those cloud services, how do you see the adoption today? Like, how has it been? Any specific things that stand out in terms of, things that have been, more in demand. For example, we know post-COVID there's been an acceleration in certain areas such as hybrid work, areas such as Teams or others. I'd love to hear some of your insights there.
Yeah, no, it's again a very interesting question. Adoption is different in different segments, as you know, and the drivers for adoption are different in different industry segments or in different areas of activity. Some areas, like for example, education has really transformed with COVID significantly. I mean, we all see our kids at home during COVID days, and it's a trend that has not disappeared. I still remember the days when COVID was being, the lockdowns were being announced, that all of a sudden the Microsoft Teams operations team was calling us in panic saying, well, we have to really increase capacity because there's an avalanche that's coming, or our work with Ministry of Education to really support the learning management platforms to all of a sudden transform overnight because, the amount of students was growing overnight. But in general, I think that there's adoption is growing at different pace in the different industries. The way I see it is that overall digital transformation has two specific aspects, right? One aspect is your ability to create your products and your internal processes in a more agile way. And this is the transformation of the IT guys moving to the cloud, creating technologies which are more agile. It's something that's been happening. It's something that happens at different paces based on, for example, regulation. I mean, one example is banks or government, regulated environments. They started moving once the cloud is here because of data residency and so on. But then there's another element which I think is very important, is that for you to be a digital entity, you not only have to be internally digital and internally agile, your end users and customers have to perceive it. And we see a lot of adoption driven by end users that need to see their companies or their entities as digital entities. So all the transformation of customer experience, customer engagement, how customers see banks, how customers or users see governments, all that is something which is driving adoption significantly. So I think the journey has accelerated clearly, and you guys have seen it for sure in Microsoft, but I think that we're far from done. I think that the curve is still way, there's a lot of growth ahead of us.
Fantastic. I mean, great insights, Miguel. My last question to you today is, what's your biggest challenge? I mean, today, if you want to pick one thing that, keeps you thinking or that you worry about, I'd love to hear it. And maybe a second part of the question is, what's next for you and your team at Etisalat? What are your focus areas?
Well, I'll answer both with basically what we do every day, what our priorities for the year. I mean, a change like the one that we're going through is a significant transformation. I think every company is going through some sort of transformation. So the main mantra for us, and I guess for everybody, is perform while you transform, right? So we have three layers of objectives. Our first layer is that we have to make sure that we continue growing. We have been growing very nicely. We have to deliver our objectives. We have to deliver our customer projects, and we have to continue doing our plans on a yearly basis. Which I keep the eyes on the ball strategy. The second layer is all the transformation element that, as you know, requires a lot of effort, a lot of internal energy that sometimes is not seen, but it consumes a lot of energy and a lot of capacity. And then the third one is looking at the future, looking at what we want to do. And this is about growing in terms of our geographical coverage. How do we do what we do well in the UAE in other markets? And it also includes complementing what we do with other activities. So we are looking at increasing the types of activities that we do in all the different areas that we cover. And that leads to initiatives that sometimes is just growing in teams organically, but sometimes it's also growing inorganically and looking at potential acquisitions, bringing the best technologies in other markets to the country, which is very exciting and it's great. But again, it's something which is also very time consuming. So I think it's a very exciting time. It's a very, very exciting days in general in the industry, but definitely in EAND. And yeah, we look forward to seeing the growth in the horizon.
Fantastic. And I seem to always do this on all my podcasts, what I think is the last question, but I remember something. So I'll actually bring up one more if you allow me, which is the point you mentioned on acquisition, because I know one significant area that you focus on as a company through acquisition was cybersecurity. I know you acquired a business called Help AG, which are one of the leaders in cybersecurity in the market. Can you tell me a bit more about this and how significant is cybersecurity for the UAE and also for you as E&?
Well, it's absolutely critical. I mean, there's no cloud and transformation without a very solid security framework. So security is everywhere; it touches everything. So we were very lucky and really privileged to work with the Help AG team. My colleague and friend Stefan has built an amazing company, and I think that we managed it pretty well because we really brought them to the family, but we left them, let's say, arm's length, so they could operate with independency. So that's fantastic. So the way we are organized, we have within Ihsan Enterprise 3 main businesses. One is the one that I lead, which is called Ihsan Enterprise Cloud. The second one is Ihsan Enterprise Cyber, which is Help AG. And the third one is called Ihsan Enterprise IoT, which is our IoT and artificial intelligence arm. And the three of us collaborate hand in hand. Again, there's no IoT solution without cloud, and there's no cloud and IoT solution without security. So the contribution of Help AG has been amazing. They are a very skilled team of people. They have grown. They bring a lot of good practices to the table, and actually they have already presence in Saudi Arabia. They're opening presence in Egypt. So they also bring the regional footprint to the team, which is really fantastic. So it's a very interesting combination of strengths, and definitely it's been a fantastic journey for us to be working with Help AG.
Great. Well, from my side, I know that of course we are super proud of the partnership. I mean, I think the fact that it covers the full spectrum of technologies, across the different cloud solution areas that we provide is great. Whether it's AI, even new areas in the region, as we talked about, like your network transformation, cybersecurity, AI. So that's really great. I look forward to that to continue. Miguel, it's been a pleasure to have you. I really enjoyed the conversation. Hopefully I'll host you again on a future episode. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ihsan. It's been an absolute pleasure to share this evening with you.
Thank you.
To keep up to date with our latest episodes in the series, follow Future Now, a podcast series by Gulf News in association with Microsoft. Visit gulfnews.com/future-now for more. Next week on Future Now.
Olivier Crespin, co-founder and chief executive officer of Zand.
If you want to build a digital bank, don't try to build a bank, but build a platform with a banking license. And that will create something we hope very different for clients.